Partners can endure absentee spouses, but it's not easy to cope when one spouse is not around all the time. There are many factors that can make a partner an absentee spouse, but it's important to strike a balance in such a relationship to make it work whenever either of the couple is not around. It's normal to feel lonely in your marriage, especially when you're not feeling close to your spouse. Whether it's because of an affair, distance, or poor communication, a lack of intimacy can cause feelings of isolation and sadness. However, there are many ways to cope when you feel alone in your marriage. When your partner is distant or absent, it can be difficult to remember the good times. You might be angry and resentful that they aren't there for you when you need them most. But listing the things about your partner that are positive, the qualities that attracted you in the first place, can help remind you of why you fell in love with them at all. It will help keep those feelings alive, even when distance has made them seem impossible to reach again. It's important to get out of your comfort zone sometimes and do something different. Try a new restaurant or activity, meet up with friends who live nearby, go on dates with your partner. It's important to reach out to others when you need support. You may find it helpful to talk with a close friend or family member who can provide you with a listening ear and encouragement. If you're feeling isolated from your partner and have no one else to turn to, consider seeking the help of a therapist. Self-care is the art of taking care of yourself so that you can be your best self. It's important to remember that self-care isn't selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. In fact, people who practice self-care often find themselves better able to cope with stress and anxiety than those who don't have time out for themselves every day. In the end, it's important to remember that there is no right or wrong way to deal with a distant or absent partner. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. The most important thing is that you find what works for you and your relationship so that both of you can feel as safe and secure as possible.
Family and values, and right now we're going into a topic for today. So if you're joining us, don't forget to send your messages to the SMS line on the screen. It's very important. No calls, just send your SMS to that number. Okay, our topic today is absentee partners in marriage. Absentee partners in marriage, and our Zoom guest is ready, and so I'm glad to bring to you on behalf of myself and Joy Baby Barrister Ayisere Bukola Babatope. She's a principal partner, Buki Ayisere and Co., and also the chairperson NBA Buhari, Buhari Women Forum. She's joining us live from Abuja. Hello, Bukola. How are you? Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello. It's so good to have
good
you.
morning, everyone. Nice to be here.
So, how is everything with you? How is the family? You're looking so great. You know, we went to school together.
Thank you.
It's good to be in the law profession. Okay, so this morning we're looking at absentee partners in marriages. So I want to ask you, how can one cope with absentee partners? Who are absentee partners to you? I'm sure you must have dealt with issues like this before, because you are also into family counseling as a legal practitioner, and also adoption and every other thing like that. So can you just give us a breakdown of who an absentee partner is supposed to do, and how does one have to cope with this kind of spouse in a marriage?
Well, we have when we talk about absentee partners, I want to believe that we are actually looking at partners that are that celebrated their marriages under the Act, because in Nigeria there are three main ways of celebrating marriages. We have the customary, which is traditional. We have the Islamic, and then the celebration under the acts, which some churches too, with their license, is regarded as celebration under the act. So if we have an absentee partner who has celebrated his marriage under the acts, then it's covered under the Matrimonial Causes Act. The relationship is guided by the MCA. So what basically the partners will look at is desertion. When we are talking about desertion, we know in Nigeria it's not new to us to see the males, let me say persons, because in this case it can even be a female that can actually desert the other partner. Well, persons will desert the home and the responsibilities that is actually that is the person is supposed to be up and doing. So when we are talking about our absentee partner, there are some partners that they actually in the home, but they don't take up any responsibility. We have some other partners that have absconded, like the Japa syndrome, or like I just warning from a report that 106 male husbands fled from Gombe last year from their homes due to prevalent economic problem. Sometimes the males they just look at it, they cannot cope with the economic situation, and they just decide that they can just flee. That is not right, even though we'll still come to that. So the problems that are associated with can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. We're with you.
Okay, so let's come to the problems that are associated with absentee partners. But basically, there are laws that guide relationship. Both the male and female, they have obligations to the married, to the children, to the other spouse. Well, we have different laws, like I said, the NCA. We have the Child Rights Act. Under the Child Rights Act, that states that a child, has to be taken care of. There is a criminal code that also there's a portion of the criminal code that actually makes the person responsible, and also VAP. I think VAP is a Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act now, which is domesticated in many of the other states. All these laws, they are to guide the relationship, so that when you decide to enter into a relationship, you cannot just walk out, open the door and just walk out at will. There are laws that guide these relationships. One particular one that I may want to mention is when we are talking about element of an offense, we have the actus reus and we have the mens rea. The mens rea is intention. When we want to look at the actus reus, that do sort of that there must be a positive act. But there are some laws that said an omission to do a particular thing will constitute a criminal act. For instance, under this Children and Young Persons Act 1993, if a parent willfully neglects, a child in necessity, such parents will be guilty. And also the criminal code, all these acts, they have their sections that says that you cannot neglect your spouse, you cannot neglect your children, at will. Your mission to do what is right will constitute a criminal act. So there are reliefs for people that are actually going through that. But let me just leave it at that. The absentee parents, there are two categories. There are people that are in the families and they are not taking any responsibilities, and we have others that they actually will abscond. Desertion, it's a ground for dissolution of marriage. For dissolution of marriage under NCE, that they will actually japa or they will flee. Like the ones I just mentioned, Gombe, the States.
Barrister, thank you very much for that intro into absentee partners. But can you tell us the major causes of partners that are in marriages yet absent? Now, we are not even talking about those that have traveled out. We are talking about marriages that they are legally married, they are living together, sleeping together, but they are more like roommates. So could you, I'm sure you've handled cases like that, could you tell us what are the major causes that will make a partner to be in marriage yet absent and the family is not feeling the impact of your presence at all? They just know that somebody has a space where you sleep and wake up.
Yes, I've handled some similar cases. After at the beginning, everybody enters the marriage with the hope that it will end up, it will end up lovely, like Romeo and Juliet. But when you come into marriage, you find out that marriages are meant for men, for people that are ready to take up their responsibilities, people that are ready to, when they have problems, to surmount the challenges. Because seriously, the challenges are numerous. They come in diverse ways. Sometimes it is beyond you. You can imagine what is happening in our country now. There is increase in fuel price. You do not envisage that when you are going into the marriage. There is insecurity. I stay very close to the Nigerian Law School in Kubwa, Duse, Buhari, and I know of one of our colleagues that he was kidnapped with his family. There is insecurity. There are a lot of things that are happening. There is increase in food. In food. The food that people eat, the ordinary things that people should have: food, clothing, shelter, education, water. You have to provide everything for yourself, and so you can see that all these things actually comes home, and it's like it kind of brings conflicts between both parties. And if they cannot try to look into it, and communication is very key for both parties to be able to communicate to one another and see how to forge ahead. But it actually happens that maybe it's just some maybe one of the partner may just give up on the relationship, which shouldn't be. You cannot appropriate and reprobate at the same time. If you want to be in a relationship, you have to be there. You have to be there physically, emotionally, financially. You cannot just marry because people are getting married, and that is why we cancel. We always cancel partners, people that want to go into marriage. We cancel them in so many ways, so that when they come into it, they will not just chicken out. They have to communicate. They have to be patient. This thing, you will walk through it. This thing, you can do it, because marriage is something that is is in the heart. Is a heartbeat of God. It is one of the institutions that God actually created at the beginning, and even the laws, they are always reluctant to easily dissolve marriage. And so there are actually normally a lot of counseling before we actually reach the state that maybe we want to say that okay, the marriage will be dissolved or something. But there are a lot of challenges on family as a whole. We need to call on our leaders. Our leaders will have to be accountable also to all these things that is happening. Security,
Barrister
the day-to-day individual. All these are all the challenges and more that are actually facing couples in the marriage, and making some of them to chicken out, and they'll just be there. Some of them, they have psychological problem, emotional problem that they are going through.
Can I break in? Okay. Barrister is still there. I want to ask you this question in just a minute or two. Barrister, okay, thank you for waiting. Now, I want to ask you this question. If you find yourself in this kind of situation, and this man or this woman suddenly just left, just like you were giving us reasons why many people just keep become absent in the course of the marriage. What if he falls sick? What if the child, maybe you are moving from one location to another. You know, in the case of divorce, you need to look for the partner before you can even think of going to the court or even dissolving the marriage, until when you see the partner. But we're talking of an absentee partner that can leave at any time and come at any time. In a case, as a legal practitioner, a case whereby there is need for emergency decision, and you know your partner is the kind of person that there is no way before you do anything you must get in touch with him, how do you do it in case of emergency and you need this partner? What are there legal, you know, steps one needs to take? Are there things one needs to do to be able to make this, you know, emergency get a quick solution?
Okay, that's a tough one, because if the person is you cannot even reach the person and you need to decide, the other partner needs to decide, and that's why, you know, I normally counsel the partners, especially the female partners, that, you know, it's actually very important that, you know, all these rights that the other male folks have, you have the rights. You have the right to own property. You have the right to your name. You have the right to many things. And so when you are in a relationship, you do not totally, you know, just sit down and not, you know, do anything. You understand? A man that is not present, you really cannot really wait for that man. You just have up and doing for the sake of your children. You have to find yourself doing something. I'm telling you, that thing that you actually think that is an emergency, if you actually tackle it before the man comes back, I'm telling you, he will be happy that, oh, this side of you're not waiting for everything, every decision. You'll be happy that so you're able to actually solve this particular problem before, not that everything you are waiting for the man. But if you have something doing, you know that it's in maybe in the olden days women cannot work, they're like chattel. Or you can work now, you can do something for yourself, even if you're a nothing mother, you can still find something to do. So in the case that a man that is not, you know, we have many of them, we have stated many reasons why they are not doing that. For me, really, you cannot really wait for them, even though eventually you can't, you know, I mean, you can't file a process for divorce, because the session, I mean, the main ground for the solution of marriage is that the marriage has broken down irretrievably, and if the person is okay, like we said, okay, in this time we are not even talking about the session. We said, okay, the person comes in and, you know, and just go out and all that. The only thing you can look at it is all those reliefs. There are other reliefs that you can ask for. For instance, under that the child rights that I stated earlier, under section 1.1 of it.
Hello, Barrister. Thank you very, very much. We are really running out of time. We are really running out of time. Thank you so very much.
Okay.
We have,
yes,
we
do. So that you have to provide for the family.
Yes.
Yeah, the criminal
to bring
code.
You
under the criminal.
Thank you very much. Barrister, please, we are running out of time. We have an in-house guest that we would want to join the conversation also. Thank you so very much for joining us on our conversation. Really appreciate your time. Thank you
very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so we have in the house, we need to welcome Chidima Uche. She's a relationship and marriage coach and an industrial chemist. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome.
So good
to have you. Sorry, the traffic had
it was something else.
Today is Monday.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome.
Can you imagine?
Okay, quickly, because we don't have so much time. We're talking about absentee partners in marriage. Now, not the ones that relocated,
yes,
the ones that
are living apart.
but they are more like roommates.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've handled cases like that.
Okay.
What do you think is responsible for such partners?
Okay, these absentee partners in marriage, a lot of things can lead to it. Do you understand? Okay, first of all, infidelity can lead to it. let's say, fear of commitment can lead to it. And again, would I say a whole lot can actually lead to it. Do you get? Okay, fine. First of all, what is this absentee partners in marriage?
Yeah.
Okay, when you talk about absentee partners in marriage, it simply means you can actually talk about it, or it can be seen in two different ways. Can be seen in two different ways. Okay, the first one is partners who live together, but at the same time, they are apart. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
They are together, they live together, but they are far from each other. You know, the emotional attachment is not there, and a whole lot. Okay, so, like I said, infidelity can lead to it. I've treated so many cases about these absentee partners in marriage, and it's not. I just love this topic. I love the topic, and again, okay, let's just say a man or a spouse. It can be a man, it can be a woman. Maybe let's just say a man wants to be irresponsible. Do you understand? And he's just trying to run away from responsibilities. You know, women now, maybe when the husband is coming back from work, buy this, buy bread, there is no milk, there is no, you know, all of that. So he's just trying to shy away from that, because coming back home every day from work, get this, get that, it could be frustrating. So the man, you will see a partner, a man, trying to shy away from those responsibilities. So he would come up with excuses. Do you get? He will come up with excuses like leaving from home to work is always stressful and all of that, transportation fare. So he just wants to shy away. Okay, fine. Maybe he now ends up moving out to get an apartment out there. Do you get? Okay, so maybe he'll be coming back once in 2 weeks or once in 1 month. Do you get? So before he even comes back, he will have in mind, okay, once I get back home, I will give, excuse me, I'll give my partner, I'll give my wife maybe 15,000 naira. Do you understand? So once he's back, maybe on a weekend, so he will just drop the money, the 15,000, and the next day, Sunday morning or Monday morning, he will now leave. Do you understand? So from there, he will start avoiding those responsibilities, because he knows if he should live with the spouse, with the wife, the money, and when you look as if the money that is going out is more than what is coming in. So a man would try to shy away from these responsibilities.
Okay.
By
Now, shying away from responsibility could be one of them. Infidelity, unforgiveness,
yes, and unhappiness can actually cause
the situation, the economic situation
Exactly.
also can be part of it.
Exactly.
Now, what can one do when you see these traces? Now, you know, I work 247, and you know, the transport to go from Songo to come to Ikeja is much. So I have one of my friends that is staying in Songo, is staying around Abule Egba. You know that money, I can use it to give you plenty. So let me save that money, and you know, and you start having distraction and distance from your partner. What can one do when you start seeing these traces?
Okay.
Oga, come back here. Don't worry.
Go anywhere.
I will manage it. Okay, use the money for my makeup for this week.
Yeah.
Use it for transport. Be going. But my energy, my strength, I will not be able to.
Exactly.
So, what do you think one should do?
When you notice this, when you're in this situation, if you find yourself with an absentee partner, do you understand? When you start seeing these traces, especially, I think it's from the men. Majority of the men. Do you understand?
It's easy for men.
Yes,
it's
majority
not easy
of the
for
men.
women to leave your
And when I
I
talked about infidelity also. You know, a husband can actually maybe meet a woman out there that he feels, you know, what the wife or what the lady out there is giving to him. The wife is not able to, you know, side chick. Yes. So, you know, those excuses just for him to be away. You know, when he's at home, when he comes back at home every day. So of course, definitely he will not have all the time to be with this woman. Do you understand? So living out there would give him all the space and time to be with this woman. So if you find yourself in this situation, the first thing you will do is to guard your heart. You guard your heart, because if you don't, you're going to make a big mistake, especially to the younger wives. You know why? This absentee, when you have an absentee partner in marriage, more or less like you're alone. You're married, but you're alone. You're single. When you can't find your partner when you need him or her, you look around left, right, you cannot find your partner. They only come today, the next day you will not see them. So you guard your heart. Because if you allow the devil, yes, you will be feeling alone. Do you understand? So, but if you allow the devil to set in, you know, of course, they say that an idle mind is a devil's
workshop.
If you must have to guard your heart, sit back. You need wisdom in some things. In fact, in marriage, you need wisdom. It's not something you would do gara and all that. So sit back. You need to have a talk with your spouse, whether the man or the woman. But I'm just saying the men because I know mostly it's the men. Yes, so have a talk and don't just talk. When you talk and you don't communicate, make sure you're heard. When you don't talk, communicate. When you communicate, you'll be heard. And know the right time. You know your husband, you know your wife, you know your spouse, right? So you know the best time to hit. Talk to your spouse. Make him or her understand the effect, the negative effect it's having on you. Honey, whatever you call her, whatever you call him. I think we need to, okay, and again, when you talk and you don't ask the right questions, because he himself might be enjoying it. So you need to hear, ask him questions like, do you like the way we are? Do you like the way we are living? You know, when you ask the right question and look into, you know, the eyes cannot lie. Look at your partner. Sit close to him when the kids are asleep. Are you enjoying this? Hear him out. And guard your heart because you'll be moved to, you know, that friend, that female friend that you look as if she's wide and you're trying to avoid yourself from meeting her or having, you know, going to visit her. But when, especially if you're an idle woman, as an idle wife, do you understand? A housewife. So yes, you'll be moved to, you know, pick up your phone to that particular friend, a female friend, you know that she's wild and she may be a bad influence to your marriage. So you're trying to avoid that. But when you look as if you're lonely, the kids have gone to school, your husband is nowhere to be found here, he doesn't even come back every day. You just pick up your phone. Let me just chat and maybe meet her up. Even in your heart, you know that she's a bad influence to your marriage and to yourself. So that is why I said guard your heart. If you don't guard your heart, you would make the devil would set in and you would do a lot of things.
Okay, Barrister, you mentioned kids. Now let's take it from the angle of the children.
Okay.
What's the effect, the negative effect of an absentee partner on the kids? Because sometimes you see, like, there are so many of them around us, and we see that when it comes to discipline, it's only the woman that is instilling discipline, because most of the times the kids misbehave, the man is not even there. And maybe when you talk over the phone, it's not a case of you're seeing to have a one-on-one. So how does this affect kids negatively, and how can partners in this kind of situation help their kids, still make them understand that this your father is still around and still instill that discipline, just to make the fatherly appearance and presence.
I understand. Actually, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. You know, children will always ask, when is daddy coming back? Or when is mommy coming? Especially, I'm focusing on the men. When is daddy coming back? So all you need to do is make sure, as a wife, make sure that your children don't 100% feel the absence of their dad. Make them understand, oh, okay, daddy went to work, daddy will come. Because when you start, children are very smart. They read off environments, they read off even their parents. So when you must have to make them understand that, okay, daddy went to work and maybe when daddy is coming back, he will buy this, just to make them feel relaxed that, okay, we have a daddy, you know, that kind of a thing. We have a dad. But when you start, maybe when they ask you, mommy, when is daddy coming back? You say, I don't know. Ask your, you know, that kind of a thing. You're putting some things in their head. And you will see when your husband now comes back, those children would withdraw because of the things you've been saying to them. And, you know, kids do grab things fastly, you know. So you must be careful at what you say or respond, or how you respond to your children. Make them understand that daddy is not that far, daddy will come back. you know, daddy would come back. So that is the best way
Thank you
to
so very much,
go
Idema.
about
I
it,
really
yes.
appreciate your coming this morning. I will just give you 60 seconds to give us your final words
Okay.
of advice to our viewers at home.
Okay. So, I have this to say. Marriage is a beautiful thing. You know, marriage is a beautiful thing. But it will be beautiful when you marry right. When you're in the right marriage. Of course, God made marriage to be beautiful. You know, it's a blessed union. So, another thing I will have to say is this. In marriage, you must set aside, see, pride must be left behind. Pride must be left behind. Then love is another thing. Commitment, sacrifice
Wow.
has to be there. When you're wrong, admit it. You know, some men don't. It's very hard. Maybe some men feel they cannot say sorry to their wives that it's wrong because they're the head of the home. But it's not like that. It's not like that. So when you're in marriage, just open up your heart. You know, open up your heart. Don't be in marriage and say, if this guy should do anyhow, I will leave. If you enter marriage with such thoughts, you cannot make it. You will not make it home.
Okay, so remember, sacrifice, love, commitment, unity is also one of those virtues or those characteristics that we need to employ into our relationship, into our marriage. We've been talking to Chinedu Uche. She's a marriage and relationship coach and an industrial chemist. And also our Zoom guest was Barrister Bukola Ayesiri Babatokwe. Thank you for joining us. It's so good to have both of you. We hope when we call again, we'll have you.